All right. So this is a case of slow weight gain. So I'm going to start by telling you that this mom, she lives in Minnesota, but I'm in Illinois. Her mother lives in Illinois. Her sister lives in Illinois. She grew up in Illinois. I got connected to this mom because I helped her sister with both of her babies. So her mom, the grandmother, texted me and said, "My other daughter's coming in town. Can you please come see her? I will pay out of pocket. She just needs a lactation visit." So I was like, "Yes, of course, I'll be there." Fortunately, we were able to bill her insurance through TLN, so there was no cost to anybody. Um, but yeah, so that's how I came to know her. So her sister has like a 2 year old and like a 5 or 6 month old, and then this is her first baby. So she's a G1P1. She had pregnancy, breast changes in pregnancy. She denies any thyroid issues. She denies any infertility, and she's a teacher. Her plan is to return to work in August. Um, Madeline, what month was it that we saw her? I don't remember.
It was in
Okay,
February that
February.
we saw
Okay.
her. I just pulled up her chart here
Okay,
for
so
her
February is when
reference.
we saw her. So when we saw her, she was going to be in Illinois for a week or two or something like that. Then she was going to go back to Minnesota, and then she was going to go out of the country for like 5 weeks or some long period of time.
Yeah, 8 weeks.
Oh, 8 weeks. Okay. So this is not the baby, but this is a good representation of the baby. Big head, scrawny body. So he was a normal vaginal delivery at 40 and 5. His birth weight was 3430 grams. She got started with the nipple shield in the hospital for pain and used it for 1 month and frequent pacifier use. Every time I saw this kid, he had a pacifier in his mouth. The dad was obsessed with putting the pacifier in his mouth. And just for reference, this is what the kid looked like when I saw him at the first visit of 7 weeks. So big head, scrawny body. Gina.
How old was the mom?
Oh,
Just wondering.
young, 35, maybe 33.
Got
She
got it.
was late 20s.
Okay, there we go. Late 20s,
Yeah,
not old.
no.
Okay. Okay, so like I said, the grandmother called me for, oh no, this picture didn't show up. The grandmother called me for poor weight gain and frequent spit up. They didn't really tell me a whole lot ahead of time, and that's okay. I like to just investigate while I'm there. But those were kind of the main things. The baby feeds on demand every 90 minutes to 3 hours, usually feeds both breasts, but very long feeding. She's like, I never really know when he's done. He's just like always on the breast. Um, she had a wearable pump. I think it was a Medela wearable pump, and she would pump like once or twice a day, maybe, because dad wanted to give 1 bottle a day. And every now and then she would supplement like 15 mLs of breast milk, but mostly he got 1 2 ounce bottle a day. Significant feed up, or excuse me, significant spit up. After like every feeding, this kid would spit up. You would take him from nursing to just gently upright and he'd spit up. And it was, it always looks like more than it is, but it was significant. It wasn't like projectile poltergeist, but it was every time you move the kid, he spit up. Um, so this is a case, as we get into this a little bit more, of really, I don't know how to word it, provider failure. Provider failure is probably the best way to put this, is provider failure. So she saw the pediatrician 3 times in the first 2 weeks, and then they didn't schedule anything again until 8 weeks. So saw the kid at 2 days. Well, I guess we saw the kid at birth in the hospital, saw the kid at 2 days, and he was 10% down. Saw the kid at 2 weeks, he was still 2.5% down. So not back to birth weight. And they were like, okay, cool, we'll see you at 9 weeks. Yeah. At 9 weeks, he was in the second percentile. Go ahead, Madeline.
No, I was just going to say the other thing, like Margaret was saying, is provider failure. Not a single person said anything to her. They discharged him at 10% weight loss. They saw him for his circumcision at 2 weeks, weighed him, did the 2-week visit. Not a single person even hinted at the fact that this baby was not gaining well. Not a single one.
And he's scary looking, like really a big head, scrawny body. Like you're like, whoo, that's a failure to thrive baby. Not that we say that anymore, but like scary. Evie.
Were there any kind of honking or breathing differences?
No,
Nothing
nothing
attributed?
like that. He
Okay.
definitely had the kind of the furrowed brow. He was definitely kind of like always that concerned, kind of grumpy look, always had to be held or pacifier or something. And the dad was shoving that pacifier in his mouth constantly, constantly. Like the kid would come off the breast and be like fussing, and he'd be like, oh, he's okay. Let's just put the pacifier in his mouth. Madeline and I were both like, oh my God, how do we get through to him? All right. So, okay. So visit number 1, I saw her at 7 weeks. The kid was 4,005 grams in the 3rd percentile. He was very sleepy, few swallows at the breast. He had had 1 stool in the last 24 hours. He transferred 25, which I was shocked that he transferred that much. And then dad again wanted to give the pacifier. So I started her off. I'm like, we need to feed this baby more. I need you to wake him at least every 3 hours, although he was feeding frequently already. Do breast compression. We want to facilitate milk transfer, stimulate him, keep him active. But I also wanted her to pump after every feeding because I explained, when your milk first comes in, you got way more than you need. But if baby's not taking as much as he should, your supply is going to downregulate. So I think even if he were to perk up and want more, you don't have a lot right now because your body is downregulated at 7 weeks to only making what he's removing. So I want to increase you. Also, if you collect some milk, we can use that to supplement him. So she had a wearable, but her mother is very savvy. Grandma was very savvy, and she was able to get her a Spectra from somebody at work. So I gave her the right size flanges, which I think were tiny. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure I gave her pretty small flanges, like 13s or something. And so she was to pump after every breastfeeding to increase the supply. And her sister, the one that I helped before, had a bunch of breast milk, like overproducer. So she gave her some breast milk, and she was going to supplement the baby with 2 ounces after every feeding. Or if dad gave a bottle and she didn't breastfeed, give 3 ounces. I saw her like 3 days later. So still 7 weeks. The baby had increased 25 grams, which is great. Not ideal, but great. I'm glad that there was some growth. The mom had been supplementing. The stools went up and the baby transferred a little bit more at the breast. So I was pleased. But now she's like, I'm going back to Minnesota. Do you know anybody there? And I'm like, yes. So I sent her to Madeline doing the same plan of care. So Madeline took over.
Yeah, so I saw her because she ended up seeing the pediatrician the day before, and the pediatrician magically started caring, I guess, and was 9 pounds, 8 ounces the day before I saw him. So at 9 weeks. And this baby looked like a newborn. And so the family was super nice, super laid back.
Too laid back, I think. Like way too relaxed.
Yes. So I weighed him almost like so laid back that I was like, let's weigh him. Does he have a clean diaper on? And they're like, it's clean enough. I was like, okay. I went based on the weight that they used yesterday. I was like, that's a good way to find out. Let's just go with it. So weighed 4,615 grams, and was still really sleepy at the breast, like very sleepy. He would swallow. He had audible swallows. It would last maybe 2 minutes, and then he'd get sleepy. Then we would perk him up a little bit. He'd get sleepy. He would fall asleep. So a 20-minute feed from both breasts was kind of rough, but he transferred 50 mils. About an hour before I had gotten there, he had gotten 1 ounce from the bottle. So I kind of just asked him, I was like, what would you guys normally do in this situation? And she said, well, we give him the pacifier. I'm like, okay, let's not not do that. Let's supplement him with 30 mils. So we did that. I asked about diaper output, stool output. They're like, I don't know. I think it was this, and I think it was this. I was like, okay, that's really hard for me to determine.
Right.
So then if you go to the next slide, she had still been pumping. She was still using her wearable. This is the first time actually, Margaret, that I knew she got a Spectra. So I don't know if she was using it, but she was gung ho on that wearable.
Okay. I did give her inserts for that though. So at least she had the right size.
Okay, perfect. So we went over pumping with her. And her main goal was she wanted to not triple feed for this trip that they had coming up. I was like, all right, let's do it. I was very stern with them. Almost the dad was like looking at me like I was crazy. And I was like, you need to stop using the pacifier. I was like, if this is your goal, no more pacifier. And they're like, well, what are we going to do then? I said, if you want every single time he fusses, you need to put him to the breast. And we went over, like, if you hear audible swallows and audible sucks, and it seems like he's vigorous at the breast, then let's consider that a full feed. And that's when you would supplement him afterwards. The 2-ish ounces is where we were at after that. They were using a size 1 nipple on their bottle and still having a lot of the spit up. So I suggested they use the preemie and coach them on some paced bottle feeding, because again, every single time this baby fussed, it was either the pacifier or dad would shove the bottle in his mouth, and then he would just spit up, and it wasn't going well. And then there we go. Okay. So then I saw him a couple days later, 4 days later, had some decent, it was like kind of breaking even, I'm going to call it. And he transferred 75 mils. That was great. Amazing. Almost like doubling. Okay. Almost. And they had said that the night was really rough. He was feeding every hour and a half. So it was almost like second night syndrome, just weeks later. He perked up. When I saw him, he was frequently spitting up after the bottle still. And they were doing about 4 bottles a day. Dad just wanted to keep shoving the bottle in his mouth, shoving the pacifier in his mouth, and wasn't quite understanding the whole nursing dynamic. I'm not sure why, but he was a lot more alert at this visit. He wasn't falling asleep as easily. So I took him off their triple feeding plan. I was like, we're transferring well, we're feeding every hour and a half. I like this. They still weren't tracking diaper output, but baby looked a lot better. He was a lot more alert. He was a lot happier. So I gave him a strict routine. They were feeding at least 9 times a day. She was at least counting that. And I told him he can't sleep longer than 3 to 4 hours at night and 2 to 3 during the day. They continued to avoid the pacifier use a little bit. It was still on their table, so I know they were using it. But I think they were starting to use the bottle instead of the pacifier, which was great. But dad would also just not listen to the feeding cues. So he would be done eating. He would be looking full, feeling full. He would maybe want to suck a little bit on something. Or he would fuss. On this visit in particular, he had a really dirty diaper. And dad's like, well, what do I do? I'm like, well, maybe we should change his diaper and see what happens. And he didn't do it. And then he's like, well, what do I do? He's still crying. Do I give him the pacifier? I'm like, maybe we should change his diaper. He eventually changed the diaper. He nursed again for 4 minutes, and then he fell asleep. And so he was doing so well after this one. Mom was a little bit leery still. So she wanted to do another weight check. So 3 days later, we ended up doing another weight check. And this one, he was at 10 weeks one day. He transferred 50 mils, but it was the worst feed. I wouldn't say it was the worst feed, but it was a lazy feed. And I had asked her, I said, is this normal for him, how he's been feeding lately? And she said, absolutely not. He's sleepy. He had just eaten an hour before this. I don't think this is normal for him. He was really awake and he was alert. And I was like, okay. She said, he nurses better at night. So I went with the 50 mils because that was a really lazy feed, but he still transferred almost 2 ounces, which was fantastic. And if anybody has Margaret's app or they don't have it yet, you need to download it, because on there it says, I should have taken a screenshot of it. But on there it says how much you should supplement. So for his age and his weight, he was right on par with having about 2 ounces per feeding, especially feeding 9 times a day. So I just said, hey, continue what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Keep avoiding the pacifier. Dad was still not super excited about using the feeding cues, but we just went with it. But she said his spitting up was getting less. So that was really awesome to have happening. As far, I left the visit and I was super excited. I called Margaret. I'm like, yes, we fixed this, Mom. This is amazing. I'm so excited. Yeah. And then they see the pediatrician. The pediatrician who, again, system failure is what we're calling this.
Yes.
We should have renamed the PowerPoint. I think.
We should have.
But system failure, they were scheduled to leave for their trip for 8 weeks international travel. And they see the pediatrician 2 days before they're supposed to leave. And the pediatrician says, baby is at 10 pounds, 1 ounce, and not gaining. And mind you, he was 9 pounds, 8 ounces.
You just woke up to this at 10 weeks. Hello.
Yes.
And they never addressed the reflux or the spitting up at all, did they? The pediatrician? No.
So I had to ask too. I said, have you run a metabolic panel? Have you done anything like this? And Mom was devastated because the pediatrician then said, you need to supplement every feed 2 ounces after you nurse, because we want him gaining 2 ounces a day. 2 ounces a day. And I was so mad. So I'm frantically like, okay, you need to see this pediatrician. I was asking my midwife friends. I was like, this mom leaves on, I think it was, she saw him on Wednesday. She saw the pediatrician on Tuesday and she was leaving on Thursday. And I was like, this mom leaves on Thursday to go internationally, and I am not okay sending her internationally with this care plan.
Right.
She needs a new pediatrician to be seen and like let her know what's going on. I don't know what happened. They're still traveling, so maybe she'll get back and she'll message me, or I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but it was a very interesting. It was super exciting to be like, we fixed her, and then to have the pediatrician just be like, nope.
You know what I'm hoping is that she goes over there and her foreign mother-in-law is like, I got you, girl. Drink this crazy tea concoction. It'll fix everything. And it's just something that we don't know anything about because it's a different culture and we don't have any literature about it, but it fixes it.
And the other thing that was really amazing was she was getting the pump output. So it was like no longer a supply issue.
Right.
It was that we were playing catch up from the system failing her from weeks beforehand because she was allowed to go home with 10% weight loss and not be at birth weight at 2 weeks.
So for clarification, what should have happened is at 10% birth weight, they should have said, we need to see you in 2 days. And then down, they would have said, we need to see you in 3 more days or 4 more days. And we need to make sure you're working with a lactation consultant. I was the first one she saw. Like, you need close follow-up because these babies, Megan knows, they go downhill really fast when there's no follow-up.
And Margaret and I had kind of talked about this on this one, was he got so used to not being fed that he just kind of felt content not being fed. Mm-hmm. And then my bachelor's is in nutrition, and you have a lot of like little things in your intestines that help you absorb. And if those aren't being used, they're really small and they don't work right. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what happened. He wasn't using his digestion. So everything was just coming back up.
Yeah.
So once he started feeding, he started using that. Mm-hmm. And I'm honestly shocked that the pediatrician didn't hospitalize his baby. Like, I don't know. It was
it's
surprising.
It's literally a system failure. It's crazy. Gina.
Did the spitting up got less as he started eating more?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And was it like more when he was drinking? Well, did he get formula at all, or
Mm-mm.
was it
Mm-mm.
only
No,
breast
never.
milk? Okay, the whole
Never. It
time.
was only breast milk. Yeah.
Okay.
I did talk to them about digestive enzymes. That is something that I, my holistic pediatrician talked to me about because I had crazy oversupply with one of them and she spit up a lot until I got that under control. And he said that digestive enzymes can help. And the Healthy Children Project talked about it a little bit when I was in school too, that, our guts have digestive enzymes to help us break down what we're exposed to. But if we don't have enough, we're going to have indigestion from it. So sometimes giving exogenous digestive enzymes can help with that. So I gave her the information. I told her to read it, talk to your pediatrician, but I don't think she ever did anything with that. So Jennifer.
So with that lack of digestion, would it be the opposite rather than spitting up that they have diarrhea instead if they're not able to digest properly?
I don't I don't know. I have never seen that. I've only seen lots of spit up. I mean, usually if babies aren't feeding well, they're not pooping.
Oh, okay.
That's just from what I've seen. I don't know what the research says about that though.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Diana.
I was wondering about how you approach talking to the family about their pediatrician being bad and making a change because like I was just listening to the lecture about scope or something like that and they were talking about or like ethic, I think it was about our professional ethics, how you shouldn't be like saying bad things about other
Yeah.
people on the care team.
Yeah.
But they're
I
like doing harm.
Yeah, I, you know, generally the way that I tell people, talk to students and things about this is like, it's not a good idea for us to say your pediatrician's an idiot because most of the time parents put a lot of thought into their provider. Occasionally they don't, they just get assigned somebody at the hospital, but most of the time they put thought into it and they're choosing it because somebody recommended it. Maybe it's not a good fit for them and we can give them some tips for how to kind of see that. But I had a mom that Tracy's not here anymore, but I did a prenatal visit with her and then she delivered at the hospital where Tracy worked. So Tracy worked with her in the hospital. And then I saw her after she got home. And she was assigned a pediatrician from the hospital because she didn't choose one ahead of time. I need to add that to my prenatal discussion, actually. Anyway, so she's like, yeah, we're going to this pediatrician tomorrow. We don't know anything about her. And I was worried because I knew this kid was down and I knew that we were having to do a triple feeding plan because we needed to get the weight back up. And I was worried that the pediatrician was going to be like, you need to get formula. And we kind of talked about like, if your pediatrician doesn't seem super supportive of breastfeeding, there are other options and you're allowed to find somebody else. I can help you with that. But, just make sure that they know that this is what we're doing and this is why we're giving this much milk. And her pediatrician was awesome. But I mean, I don't know, Madeline, did you address it with her? I definitely just kind of said like, wow, I'm really surprised your pediatrician doesn't want to see you sooner than that.
I screamed a couple times.
Yeah.
And then I kind of preyed on her like vulnerability of being frustrated about the situation, which sounds really bad. But I was like, you're leaving soon. If you want a second opinion, here's who I would recommend. They may have an opening.
Yeah.
And I sent her a list of 3 or 4 different offices. And I'm in the Twin Cities area, so I don't know where everybody else is, but we have a large metro area.
Mm-hmm.
You can see anybody anywhere, throw a dart at it, and someone that maybe has better judgment would probably be able to see her.
Yeah.
And then I said, based on my research and the like information that I use, this is how much he should be getting per feed. And I sent her a screenshot of Margaret's app. And I said, this is what I use. This is where I get my information from, because I didn't want her to think that I was just pulling it out of my hat, that he was getting what he needed to be.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of said, I'm really worried about you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I left it at that. And like I said, I have no idea where they went with it. I have no idea the really cool thing about where she's going that I forgot to mention was she was like, they don't even pump there. They just hand express. And I was like, yes, maybe you're going to the right place.
Hopefully. Yes. Yeah.
Treading lightly, but also just if you give them the referral, if you know someone in your area that you know is a good pediatrician, and phrasing it as it's always great to get a second opinion. Because a lot of people think that they're married to their pediatrician. And if you see them, you have to keep seeing them. And you don't. Nobody ever has to see the same doctor if they don't like them.
That's right.
You are paying them lots of money.
Yeah, it's your baby. You get to make the call. You're the boss here. Yeah. Megan.
I was going to say that when I do like my final consult in the hospital or anything along those lines, and we're at more than 7% weight loss, I have an honest conversation that when you start seeing your pediatrician, their threshold may look different than what it is in the hospital. And you have to decide where you're comfortable with following their recommendation for supplementation or advocating for yourself in a direction where you feel more comfortable that when your milk transitions, that's where you'd like to at least give some time frame for that. But I always say that regardless of any of those things, when you decide or if you take their direction for supplementation, it's time to seek outpatient lactation support so that they can teach you how to protect your supply, how to bottle feed that's protective of breastfeeding, and how much in the volume and all that kind of stuff. Because I always say that our pediatric providers are breastfeeding adjacent. And although they might give you information that they want to meet baby's medical needs, their goal is not to protect breastfeeding. So we kind of are the bridge that puts those things together. And so I talk about that a lot because I know that when they leave here and it's 8 point whatever percent, that when they see the pediatrician in a day or two, it's probably going to be at 10. And so they need to have that conversation, so you have that. I was going to tell you that the case that you guys are talking about, I had one very recently similar like that, a home visit. And like they saw them at 2 weeks and it was like 12% weight loss. And they just sent them on their way. They said, we'll see you at the 2-month checkup. And I was like, we need to be supplementing this baby. And I showed him how to pace feed. And when I checked in 48 hours, like not an actual visit, but like we did like a video visit, they were like, well, it's taking a really long time, and the baby's not getting enough. So I actually modified my pace bottle feed. And I said, I actually want to get elevation on this bottle.
Yes.
And I want to do it right now because this kid is not eating effectively because he doesn't have the energy to do it. I said, so what we're going to do is we're going to hyper focus. I said, we're actually going to stop breastfeeding for at least 24 hours. We're going to take a break. We're going to pump to protect. I said, and we're going to give this baby 60 mLs every 2.5 to 3 hours. I said, and I don't care how fast the baby eats it. I'll worry about getting back to the, we're already barely at the breast anyways. I said, we'll talk about the breast later.
I love that. I would do the same thing.
And I said, because I need your infant to have intake so that it's not ill.
Yeah. Megan, I'm so glad that mom recognized this as something that needed to be addressed, because imagine if this grandmother had not called us, Madeline. Like, where would we be today? Because I don't think the mom would have called. She was just kind of like, not bad or aloof, but just very relaxed, like the chillest mom ever.
It was almost like concerning chill. Like I almost was like weird because my background is in EMS. And so there's always red flags that go up when you are too relaxed. And I just kept looking for more like clues to be like, what's happening here? And I didn't find them. But I was like, maybe they just are relaxed. They were also very religious. So I wonder if that also played an aspect of like, maybe this is just what's supposed to happen. I'm not sure. I didn't really dive into it, but it was very interesting.
Yeah. So interesting. Carrie.
So like you guys talking about how the doctor was so chill about it, like that blows my mind. So my son, I ended up had to combo feed him anyway, but he was very slow to gain weight. I cannot tell you how many freaking appointments I was at that doctor's appointment. I was there all the time. And I was so thankful that they were so diligent about it that like it hurts my heart hearing that like people are suffering. But as far as like, a second opinion, like we do it in the hospital all the time. Like I've had patients when I was in the ICU and I'm like, yeah, does provider suck? Get another get another opinion. Like, and we flat out come out and say they're like, listen, your providers aren't giving you what you really need. You need to think about going to someone else. So
I
it
love
just
that.
blows my mind that like that actually really hurt my heart hearing that the
Yeah.
doctor was like nonchalant about everything.
Yeah, it super sucks.
And kind of piggybacking on the provider, if you go to the ABM website, you can find a provider on the website, and they may or may not be close. I just did pediatrician when I was looking it up actually earlier for somebody. And I got a retired provider, and then I got somebody else that works in research. But as a lactation provider in the area, if you see those people, their email address is posted, and you can always shoot them an email that says, hey, who would you recommend someone go see? And they're always very happy and very willing to like give you names of people, names of information, because you want to trust who you're sending people to, that they're going to actually take care of them.
Yeah, that's helpful, Madeline. Evie.
Have you seen this kind of chill attitude from physicians more often with babies with airway disorders?
No, I feel like most providers are over the top, which, in most cases is good. But no, I really, this is an outlier, at least for me.
This has been because our second son was a laryngo baby, and it was very swept under the rug. We had to do a lot of the interventions ourselves. Like, oh, they grow out of it, And had we kind of followed that rhetoric, a lot of these kids end up with G-tubes because by the point where they try to intervene, they're too weak to do anything. And then they've reached the point where they lose that suck reflex. So there's a lot of bottle aversion. And I just didn't know if it was very common for lactation consultants, or is it just past the point for them to do lactation consulting because they're too far gone a lot of times?
No, I mean, I think that lactation consultants see them a lot in the beginning because they're just sort of present as feeding problems. It's pretty rare. I probably have only ever seen it once in my career. But around here, they don't seem to be lax about it. I mean, there's lots of referrals. There's lots of speech and OT that we can send babies to. Yeah, I haven't. I'm sorry that you had that experience. I haven't experienced that, but hopefully, that's one of the things that I talk about a lot. I want to build a revolution where we really focus on building our referral networks so that we have the ability to help the patients right away. Like, if I was helping you and I saw that, I want to be able to refer you to speech or OT immediately, not weeks down the road, or let me figure it out or whatever. My mom, that we've worked on her supply a few weeks and the baby is still really struggling. All right, I'm sending you to breastfeeding medicine. Here's the thing, call today, get your appointment. She's got an appointment this week. I mean, like, we need to build that referral network so that we are not supposed to wear all the hats. That's not it at all. But we need to have our referral network so we can send moms to the right places, right?
And most people are going to be so excited to hear from you. Like, they're going to be ecstatic to be like, oh, you're a lactation provider in the area? Like, the fact that you even care. I did craniosacral therapy and myofascial, and then I have a pediatric dentist this week. And they're so excited. They're like, oh, you actually care about what we do.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's amazing when you build it, and then they're like, they get referrals, you get referrals, and everybody's happy.
Definitely. And nobody's taking business from one another because we all need each other to find success with these dyads.
Well, what I found in our journey is there was a group that had Jennifer Garham was our IBCLC that I found, because who they referred me to for gastro for him, because a lot of babies have GERD. He was telling me my milk wasn't nutritious enough. That's why he was so fussy. And you need to just give him hypoallergenic formula. So then I found Jennifer, but she also had a PT, an OT, and a CST that they all worked with. And then it became a game changer because she had those connections. She had the team.
Definitely. Definitely. That's one of my podcasts coming up. I want to talk about that specifically. Love it.
I took a class in college that was focused on dynamic care. So anybody in a healthcare profession was required to be in it.
Love that.
And it's it should be more and more and more often because we all matter and we all are really important to everything.
Exactly. Definitely. All right. Well, that was fun. Unfortunately, we can't wrap it with a pretty bow, but we got some good information there. Anybody have any other thoughts or questions or cases we didn't get to talk about?
If I get more information when they come back, I
Yes.
will update everyone.
Please do that.